Alright, this is a how-to video showing you how to extend my seat rails in a 2009 Subaru Forester. This one is an XT. Installation instructions are going to be very similar for a Impreza or WRX, as it's the same platform. Alright, so we're going to I'll show you how to install the rails. Optional is a thread locker. I suggest you use blue, commonly known as Loctite. You can get this, pretty much any hardware store. Got four bolts. We'll show you how to install. Alright. So come around to the front here. We're going to be using a 14mm socket. You can use a wrench as well, but socket's a little easier. I already went ahead and took out the floor mats. Still a fair amount of beach sand in here. We're going to have to remove these bolts, two in front on each side, and we'll show you the rear ones later. Alright, so we've removed the front two 14mm bolts. We ended up using a 6-inch extension, gives you a little better clearance. Now before we take the back ones out, we're going to pull the seat forward to give us some extra room. Alright, now we're in the back. Seat forward gives us extra room. These plastic things just sort of pop off, just snap on. Pretty easily. Set those aside. You can see we have two more 14mm bolts, so we're going to remove those. Alright, so we've removed the two rear 14mm bolts. They are torqued on there pretty well, pretty snug. So if you don't have the strength to do it, you might consider using a cheater. Just be aware, sure not to damage your seat backs here or anything like that. One thing to be aware, there is this electrical cable here that connects from underneath to the seat. That's for the side impact airbags, which are in the seat. So keep in mind, now that we've unscrewed all four of these bolts, the seat is loose. So there's enough service loop. I'm not going to disconnect it. If you do choose to disconnect it, refer to the manual for instructions on how to do that without accidentally deploying the airbag. Alright, we now have the seat loose. Shifted it back a little bit, as you can see. So this is going to be the one, this is going to be the rail that installs on the left side. As you can see, this kind of ramp bit that faces down, that's where the seat's actually the front of the seat's gonna install to. So we'll install that underneath. Alright, so we've kind of roughed in where these are gonna go. So now we're gonna use the original bolts. There's these black ones in the front, silver ones for the back. Those are the longer bolts that you removed here, not the ones that came with the rails. And we're going to be using Permatex Blue. This is the gel. You don't need to buy the big one. I suggest, if you're not going to use it for anything else, just get the small one. It's like about $5. You can get it at O'Reilly's, Home Depot, probably at Walmart as well. I do suggest you use the blue stuff and not the red stuff. The red stuff is very difficult to remove, and what we're doing with this is it's just going to reduce the risk that vibration is going to loosen these bolts over time. Seats, obviously, very safety critical to have these torqued down securely. So we're going to put this on the bolt and then install it into here. Alright, so we've put some thread locker blue on our bolts. You don't need a lot, just enough to cover like 5 or 6 threads or so. I put a little bit more than that on there, but you don't want to coat it. Just a little bit. Just kind of think about putting like a little blue stripe on it. All right, we went ahead and put thread locker on the silver bolts for the back. Slid the seat forward a little bit. Now we're going to loosely fit the rear 14mm bolt on the outdoor side. As you can see, we've already loosely installed this one. We don't want to tighten it yet because there is some play in these, so we want to make sure everything's fitted before we really torque it down. So let's go install that back one. Alright, so we've installed the silver bolt here in this hole. The back of the seat bracket here is going to go into this hole, so don't worry about that for now. So be sure to snug these down really tight. Again, there is some play in here, so be aware of that. Make sure it's not too crooked, anything like that. Alright, so we're now going to install the inboard side. Again, kind of the ramp piece faces down. This cutout faces outward. We've kind of raised the seat back, slid it back a little bit, so we have good room. Slide this in. Again, it's easier with two people. Alright, so we've now taken the original black bolt, and with that blue Loctite we put on there, we're gonna loosely fit that one, and we're gonna install the rear bolt before we snug that one down. Alright, so here we are in the back. Again, we're gonna loosen this up, loosely tighten this up, make sure everything kind of fits up here snug against this inside pillar, and then we'll tighten it down. Make sure you tighten this down, because you don't want this coming loose when you're driving. Alright, so now we've added Loctite to the 4 bolts that came with the rails. That was the ones in the Ziploc bag. So we'll be able to use those to install the seat itself through this bracket into the extension rail we've installed here. Before we do that, though, we're going to go ahead, make sure all these bolts holding the brackets to the body are secure. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Alright, so we've pushed the seat forward. We're going to install these 2 rear bolts, and then we'll be done. Alright, so go ahead, make sure everything's tightened up. One thing I noticed, the original bolts come with these washers. The ones they send you don't. So I'm probably going to go purchase some washers and reinstall those with them, just so the stress on this bracket is distributed over a slightly larger area. But apart from that, it's pretty straightforward. And as you can see, you get substantially more legroom than you did before. Just make sure you snug up everything well, and yeah, there is a little bit of difficulty, honestly, getting these to fit. You got to get these to line up, just because there's a lot of angles going on here, but the brackets do fit. So just take your time and enjoy. Thanks for watching.